The hook and the great question. Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow, and everything feels the same. The alarm blares, you check your phone, scroll past headlines that spark momentary outrage, but no action, then drag yourself out of bed. You get ready, follow the same routine, move through the motions like a well-trained machine. Maybe you work a job you don't love, or maybe you study for a future that feels increasingly uncertain. The day passes in a blur, and by night, you soothe your exhaustion with cheap entertainment, momentary distractions that numb the creeping sensation in the back of your mind. Is this all there is? But here's the real question. Did you choose this life, or was it chosen for you? Most people will never escape the system, not because they are incapable, but because they never even realize they're trapped. That's the brilliance of the machine. It doesn't need chains when it has illusions. It keeps you entertained, overworked, underpaid, overstimulated, numbed out, and just comfortable enough to never rebel. The perfect cage isn't one with visible bars. It's one that convinces you there was never an outside to begin with. Now consider this contradiction. We are told we live in the freest time in human history. You can choose your career, your beliefs, your identity. You can express yourself however you want. You can follow your dreams. And yet, why do so many people feel powerless? Why do depression and anxiety consume modern society, even when material conditions have improved? Why do people feel like something is missing, like they are drifting through a life they never truly chose? What if the freedom we were promised was never real freedom at all? The system, whether you call it society, the economy, the cultural machine, has mastered the art of control, not through force, but through psychological conditioning so deep that most people don't even recognize it. You are given just enough options to make you believe you have control. Just enough distractions to keep you from asking real questions. Just enough fear to keep you obedient. And the most brilliant trick? It makes you police yourself. You silence your own doubts before they even form. You laugh at those who challenge the script. You tell yourself, this is just how life works. But deep down, a part of you knows something is wrong. A part of you senses the walls, even if you can't see them. So here's the real question, the one most people never dare to ask. What if everything you've been taught about success, happiness, and reality itself is a lie? If that were true, what would it mean for your life? Could you ever unsee it? And more importantly, if you found out, would you have the courage to escape? Because make no mistake, escape is possible. But it requires something most people are too afraid to do. Confront the truth. And that truth begins with understanding the hidden forces that keep you trapped. The hidden problem and its psychological/philosophical roots. Imagine a prisoner who has spent his entire life in a cell. The walls are all he has ever known. He doesn't dream of escape because to him, there is nothing beyond the prison, only endless, empty space. But one day, he notices something strange, a crack in a wall, a glimpse of something else. Now, he faces a terrible dilemma. Does he ignore it, reassuring himself that nothing lies beyond? Or does he risk everything to break free, knowing that freedom might be more terrifying than captivity? This is the hidden problem of modern existence. The system is not just external, it lives inside you. It has shaped your mind, your desires, and even your fears. Nietzsche warned of this in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, describing humanity as a herd, comfortable in its self-imposed servitude, afraid of true freedom because it demands responsibility. Carl Jung spoke of the persona, the false self we construct to fit into society, a mask that hides the raw, unfiltered truth of who we are. Aldous Huxley saw it too. Not a dystopia of oppression, but one of pleasure, where people are too entertained, too sedated, too addicted to comfort to ever question their chains. And so most never will. But why? The answer lies in the deepest layers of human psychology. The mind craves certainty, order, and predictability, even if that order is suffocating. From birth, we are conditioned to follow rules, to seek approval, to fear failure. We are taught what to believe, what to value, what to pursue. And the most dangerous part? We internalize these beliefs until they feel like our own. Society doesn't just control through laws or institutions, it controls through identity. If you see yourself as nothing more than a worker, you will never question why you trade your time for survival. If you define success by wealth, you will chase money endlessly, never stopping to ask what enough actually looks like. If you believe happiness comes from external validation, you'll spend your life performing for others, never truly living for yourself. This is how the system keeps people trapped, not with force, but with ideas. Ideas so deeply embedded that to question them feels like questioning reality itself. But here's the most terrifying part. Even when people start to see the truth, most still won't escape. Why? Because escaping means shattering everything you once believed. It means facing the terrifying realization that much of your life was built on illusions. It means standing alone, outside the herd, without the comfort of prepackaged meaning. And that is something most people cannot bear. So they stay. They rationalize. They tell themselves the system isn't that bad. They convince themselves they're already free. But what they don't realize is that every day they remain inside, the walls grow stronger. Because the longer you accept the illusion, the harder it becomes to break free. And the price of staying? That's what we'll uncover next. The unseen consequences. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, but instead of your own reflection, you see a version of yourself, one that could have been. A self untouched by fear, unshackled from the expectations of others, a self that lived fully. Now imagine that version of you staring back, whispering, "Why did you waste it?" This is the silent tragedy of those who never escape the system. Not a dramatic fall, not a grand collapse, just a slow erosion of self. A life reduced to routine. A mind dulled by obligation. A soul suffocated by distractions. The worst part, they never realize what they've lost until it's too late. And yet, most don't see this as a problem. That's the true brilliance of the system. It doesn't just trap you. It makes you love your captivity. Think about it. Why do so many people defend the very structures that exploit them? Why do they attack those who challenge the status quo? It's because the system has given them something in return, the illusion of safety, meaning, and belonging. It keeps them entertained, comfortable, and distracted just enough to never ask the dangerous questions. But at what cost? 1. The death of individual thought. Your mind is not your own. The system shapes how you think, what you desire, what you fear. It tells you what success looks like, what happiness means, what is worth pursuing. Most people never stop to ask, is this truly what I want? They simply adopt the values given to them, mistaking societal conditioning for personal truth. They think they are making choices, but in reality, they are following a script, one designed to keep them passive, obedient, and endlessly chasing external validation. 2. The addiction to distraction. In a truly free world, people would reflect. They would question. They would seek meaning beyond consumption. But that is dangerous for the system. And so it floods them with noise, endless entertainment, superficial conflicts, short-lived dopamine hits. Anything to keep them from looking too deeply, from asking, what am I really doing with my life? Most people are not living, they are merely coping. 3. The fear of true freedom. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote that true freedom is terrifying. To break away from the herd means to stand alone, to take full responsibility for one's existence. And most people, despite what they claim, don't want that. They want comfort. They want certainty. They want someone else to define life's purpose for them. And so, they remain in their invisible prison, never realizing that the bars were never real. But what if there was another way? What if the fear, the doubt, the uncertainty, what if all of it was a test? A challenge designed not to break you, but to awaken you? Because there is a way out, but requires something most people will never dare to do: rebellion. And that's what we'll uncover next. The rebellion, how to break free. Imagine for a moment that you wake up tomorrow and truly decide, that you will no longer live by the rules imposed upon you, that you will no longer measure your worth by external standards, that you will no longer trade your time, your energy, your soul for illusions. What would happen? The answer is simple: the system would fight back. Not through force, but through fear. It would whisper in your ear, telling you that breaking free is impossible, that you will fail, that you will end up alone, lost, and without purpose. It will remind you of your obligations, your responsibilities, the long list of reasons why you can't walk away. And this is where most people break. Because rebellion isn't about knowing the truth. It's about acting on it. The first step is mental escape. 1. Question everything. The system thrives on unconscious obedience. Most people accept the world as it is because they have never learned to challenge it. But true rebellion begins with a single radical act: doubt. Do you really need to follow the path laid out for you? Do you really desire what society tells you to desire? Do you really believe that success is measured by wealth, status, and validation? The moment you begin questioning, the spell weakens. Because once you see the cracks in the illusion, they can never be unseen. 2. Reprogram your mind. You were not born to be a cog in someone else's machine. But from childhood, you were trained to think like one. Undoing this conditioning means rewriting your internal narrative. Stop seeking permission. Stop apologizing for wanting something different. Stop fearing rejection from those still asleep. Start feeding your mind with philosophy, psychology, history, ideas that liberate rather than enslave. Read Nietzsche, who spoke of transcending the herd. Read Jung, who taught that integrating your shadow is the key to true wholeness. Read Huxley, who warned how comfort is used as a weapon against consciousness. Most importantly, start thinking for yourself. 3. Embrace discomfort. Freedom is not easy. It requires sacrifice. When you step outside the system, you will feel lost. You will face doubt. People will resist you, mock you, even fear you, because your existence threatens their illusions. This is the test. True rebellion is not about running away. It's about standing firm in the face of fear. The moment you stop seeking approval, the moment you stop needing validation, the system loses its power over you. And then you are free. But real freedom is not just mental. It is also action. It is not enough to think differently. You must live differently. The final step. Reclaim your life. Because the system doesn't own you. It never did. And once you see this truth, you will never belong to it again. And yet, there is still one final realization left. A truth so deep that once you understand it, everything will change forever. That's what we'll uncover next. The ultimate truth, the final, most powerful realization. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast abyss. Behind you is everything you've ever known, routine, expectations, the comfortable illusion of certainty. Before you, the unknown, terrifying, unstable, infinite. Most people, when faced with this choice, turn back. They would rather stay in a cage with familiar walls than risk falling into the unknown. But what they don't realize is that the cage never existed. This is the final, most powerful truth. There is no system to escape, only the illusions you have accepted. From the moment you were born, you were told a story. A story about success, morality, happiness, identity. You were given a name, a nationality, a belief system. You were handed a script and told to play your role. And like an actor who forgets he's on stage, you began to believe that this role was you. But it was never you. The system is not an external force, it is an internal one. It survives because people give it power. It is built on belief, on obedience, on fear. The moment you stop feeding it, it crumbles. This is why real freedom isn't about rebellion, it's about awakening. 1. The ego's final battle. The last thing standing between you and true freedom is you. The false self, the identity constructed by society, the ego that clings to its labels, its desires, its fears. This is what keeps you chained. Jung called it the shadow, the parts of yourself you refuse to face. Nietzsche called it slave morality, the mindset of those who submit rather than create. Sartre called it bad faith, the lie we tell ourselves to avoid responsibility. To escape, you must kill the false self. Stop defining yourself by what society has told you to be. Stop seeking purpose in things that were designed to control you. Stop fearing the unknown, because that is where life truly begins. 2. The power of radical creation. Once you let go of the false self, something incredible happens. You become the creator of your own reality. Not in a superficial, self-help way, but in the deepest existential sense. You are no longer a product of the system. You are no longer following a script. You decide what life means. You decide what is worth pursuing. You decide who you are. And in that moment, you realize something. The people who are truly free are not the ones who fight the system. They are the ones who create a new world entirely. Because the system is not destroyed through resistance. It is destroyed when enough people simply walk away. 3. The final question. So now, after everything, after seeing the illusion, after realizing the truth, there's only one question left. What will you do with this knowledge? Because now, you are no longer trapped. The door has always been open. The only thing left is whether you have the courage to step through it.